All right, good morning. So it's about 9:03, and we're going to start going over the gap scan for this morning. We'll see if we can find anything worthy of trading. So this morning we've got a leading gapper of FULC. It's up only 35%. Had a nice move pre-market, pops up, pulls back, goes higher, pulls back, goes a little higher. So offered two pullback setups. That's not bad. But now it's stair stepping back down. So right now there's no setup on it. It's below VWAP, it's pulling back. I don't have any interest in it. The float's 37 million shares. It has 4.38 million shares of volume. And in fact, that is our volume leader today. And I think that perhaps by itself speaks to sort of how slow it feels today. We don't have a lot of volume on anything. Now, Tesla's up 4%, and that one also has 4 million shares of volume, which is much more substantial because 4 million shares of a $240 stock is a lot more money changing hands than at a $5 price. But in any case, this isn't something that I'm going to day trade. So that's Tesla. Just looking at volume leaders. Back to percentage gainers. FULC up 35%, priced at $5, 4 million shares of volume, 37 million share float. And the relative volume is high, but it's not enough to give us continuation, at least so it seems today. Next one down, PMN. So PMN has this candle back here on July 17th where it made a really big move and is certainly on the backside of that move. Could it curl back up a little bit? Maybe, but it's below all of these moving averages. This just doesn't look like a good setup to me right now. FN is up 22%, priced at $142. Now, PMN has 2 million shares of volume and a 7.16 million share float. FN has 28,000 shares of volume and a 36 million share float, and it's too expensive. I bet if we looked at the level 2 on it, we would see that's a big spread. Let's see. It does have a larger spread, 142.80 by 144.31, and it's easy to borrow. So anyways, next one down, Hall, HALL, up 21%, $3.56, 50,000 shares of volume, 1.31 million share float. So that one is a particularly low float. It did have a split back in like January. After the split, moved up to like $12 a share. Now it's pulled back, double bottoming down here at 293, popping up a little bit this morning. News headlines, August 16th, August 15th. Not sure. Hallmark Financial Services. No volume on it right now. Mind, MIND, 70 cents. A little too cheap for my liking. FRGT, 55 cents. NLSP, 92 cents. VINC, 96 cents. HKIT, this one has been pretty volatile. You had this day where it dropped. It was kind of crazy. It had a really significant sell-off right here. I don't even know what you call this pattern. It goes from 16 all the way down to 8, drops 50%, and then it rips all the way back up to 22. Is this Chinese? Yeah, and you know what? That's the type of thing that we do see with Chinese stocks. So, anyways, it's moving a little bit higher, but you've got to be really careful with this. The all-time high, or well, the high of this move was like $28 a share, 27.07. That was all-time highs on it as well. if it goes back up, but just be careful with it. So, as we're trading through the last week, well, it's not quite the last week. I guess next week is the last week of August, but we're coming to the end of the summer here, end of the month. A lot of kids are going to be going back to school next week, the week after. So it's sort of a change in schedule, change in routine. Typically, I expect the markets to pick back up after summer ends. So September, but really October, November, December, Q4 is when usually things pick up. So hopefully we see some action in Q4. Right now, I have low expectations, and coming in with low expectations is a good way just to be pleasantly surprised when we get anything. So if I end up getting some trades and I get some nice moves, I'm pleasantly surprised. If I don't, I really, it doesn't matter. And this is the thing that's so important. I know that not every week is going to be a huge green week. I know that not every month is going to be a huge green month. My years are usually defined by 1 or 2 months that contribute 20 to 30%, even maybe a little bit higher of my profit for the whole year. So, it's tough, but I've had years where it's been slow the whole year, and then October, November, December, in 3 months I make 100 grand, or 100 grand each month. I make 300 grand. So, you just never know. That could happen. It might not happen. But the fact is, I think if you accept the degree that you're completely powerless, the market will either provide opportunities or it won't. In a way, it makes it, I think, easier. I mean, maybe that makes it more difficult for some people, but I hope that it makes it easier, because there's really nothing you can do except for show up. Show up, be here, be willing to trade, be patient, have discipline. If nothing ends up providing clean opportunities, then don't trade, or, just be patient until something does pop up. That's the best way to do it. So I know it's not easy for beginner traders, and it doesn't feel like productive use of time when you're sitting here and you're not actively in a trade. But given over my last 20,000 trades, that my average hold time is 5 minutes, I spend a lot more time sitting and waiting than I do actually trading. Right? Of course, I've still made a lot of money in the market. So, in a way, in a sense, I do get paid just to sit here. And, it's those little 5-minute windows where I actually receive the money, but that whole time I have to be here. I can't just only show up for those 5 minutes, because you just don't know exactly when those are going to come. Thank you, by the way, for those on YouTube tuning in for the morning show. Next week, I'll be on my traveling trading station. I'll be in the Day Trade Dash mobile using my Starlink. I am hopeful and optimistic that the Starlink performs well. But, I won't know until I'm actually out there. The interesting thing with my Starlink is that it has been inconsistent. From the same exact location, on one day, the internet is smoking fast. Awesome. The next day from the same location, I haven't even moved the van, and I'm getting interruptions every, 3 to 5 minutes where I have no connection whatsoever. Now that's fine if you're watching Netflix, because Netflix will buffer for you so you don't notice the gap. But when you're streaming or you're consuming real-time market data, right, that's a problem. So, it's been a little disappointing, to be honest, because it's not cheap. But anyways, so I do have, I will be traveling next week on the traveling trading station, and then we'll have Labor Day weekend, and then I'll be back, and I don't have any more travel scheduled right now for the rest of the year. So my routine coming into the fall is going to be a little bit more consistent, which I had planned based on that being a time when the opportunity cost of me missing days is higher because the market's usually stronger. The opportunity cost of missing days on the last week of August, it's pretty low, right? I mean, again, you could have a stock that goes from $10 to 100, and if that happens, then I'll miss it. But more likely, we won't, given the state of the market right now. So, anyways, I did set a goal this year of trying to spend quite a lot of time traveling, a good amount of time on the traveling trading station. Looking back in hindsight, it is difficult to trade while traveling, and the biggest challenge this year with that has been inconsistent internet. Inconsistent internet when I was in Europe, inconsistent internet on my road trip back from Colorado using the Starlink, using my cell phone, inconsistent internet in the Caribbean in January and again in April. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I suppose in a perfect world, I would say that I've made enough trading that I can actually just take those days off completely. But I have this feeling that I just want to show up every single day. Some might call it a compulsion. I feel like I have to show up every day because I never know. You never know when you're going to get a really nice day. You just don't know. And I suppose that ultimately is the fear of missing out. And it's based in reality though. We all know, well, here's HKD. The day you take off is the day we end up having those big moves. But I don't have high expectations for HKD. Share buyback, $30 million. The problem with this stock is it has been beaten up so hard. But accepting that it's okay to miss out sometimes, and sometimes it's better to just take that vacation and really get the time off. I don't know. Maybe I'll do something different next year. I'm not sure, but I'm also hopeful that the Starlink continues to get better and better as they put up more satellites. Because that was the biggest frustration, was sitting here ready to trade, having brought all my trading station, all the way to Europe or to wherever, and then my internet's not working right. In the areas that I got 5G, I was using that as a backup, and that worked just fine. But in a lot of the remote areas, there's no 5G yet. So we've got about 14 minutes to the opening bell. HKD is up 9%. AXLA a little on the cheaper side. TIRX. FULC is the volume is actually the volume leader in the entire market this morning. 4.2 million shares of volume. HKD is a little lighter on volume, but we're in the trenches right now. And I wouldn't blame anyone if they took some days off when you come in and you see this. But for traders that did stick around, you did get SOS yesterday into the close from $6 all the way up to $9. So that so far has been our biggest move of the week. 6 up to 650 to 7 to 750 to 8 to 9. You know, all things considered, it's holding up relatively well. Pullback was around 730. Ascending support right there at about 750. Got some headlines from, what's that? 4.35 million share float. HKD. I just wouldn't expect a lot on HKD. So that's true. Announces a share repurchase program. Sometimes companies will announce a share repurchase program and then they don't follow through with it, either in full or at all. So that can be a little, you know, you just don't know if it'll happen. SOS currently down 16%. So while you could get in right here off support, it doesn't have volume. No one's looking at it really. I mean, you know, again, I'm looking at it. Some people are looking at it because it was a continuation from yesterday, but it's not obvious enough. What's obvious are stocks on the top of the scan, stocks that already have volume. Unfortunately, those stocks do not look particularly exciting right now. HKD getting a little attention because it's hitting the scanners. It's moving up right now. So traders will circulate, you know, hey, look, take a look at HKD, et cetera, et cetera. But I know that stock well enough at this point that I don't trust it. Oh, the latency on my current setup is not bad. Let's see. Trying to remember when I was in Europe what it was. I think my ping in Europe was like 72 or maybe 100. My ping here is 8. The idle latency. And my upload download speed is 500. So I certainly have a strong connection at home in my home office. And it wouldn't matter. I mean, you know, I'm not doing the type of trading where moving to New York City, I don't think would make any difference. You know, I made good money when I was trading in Italy, even with a little bit more latency. It doesn't really matter that much for me. It was the streaming problem because the internet was satellite. so it would drop sometimes. HKD coming up to the top there of 67. So you can see how HKD comes up to that double top. For a second, it looks like it's going to break. Goes to 68 and then drops back down. The low back here was 540. So HKD, if you can break up here through 67, 68, and then you might see a move up to 75, 80. Right now, it's obviously the only stock on the scans. So let's see if it wants to break 68. So there's 75. So, you know, a small break. Is it anything exciting? Obviously not, but, you know, you could have taken that if you wanted to. Little trade there. I don't know. Doesn't really seem, not sure it's really worth it, but what would the total gain been? 68 up to 79. So 10 cents, 11 cents a share. BFS. So this one's a little tricky. You have the high here of 1860. Yesterday's high was 1889. So over 20, it's more interesting. The volume is pretty light on it though, which is a problem. Is there any news on it? So there's 1889. Let's see if it goes up to 19. So I would watch this if it breaks through 1950. Volume's coming in, not a lot, but you know, some volume starting to come in. So you've got 1889 on the ask. Next order, you'd probably want to see a break of 19. That would be through yesterday's high. And then this candle, let's see. The high was 1968. So if you get over $19.68, that's where it looks interesting. So I'm going to put an order at 1950 on VFS. And we'll see if it decides it wants to go that high. So just watching. High of that candle was 1889. There's 1895. So it's hitting the scanner again. I want to see if more volume comes in, right? I want to see if we see that green on the tape. Do we see some buyers? Does it start to accelerate? It's already moved up $1 a share. Light volume, bigger spreads, but these are also the type of stocks that can move quickly, as we've seen before. So look at this, the spreads are tightening up. Look at that. So now you've got 1946 on the ask. So all of a sudden, it's like, okay, does this thing want to go somewhere? So like I said, 1950 is the level I'm watching. High is 1946 right now. It's only up 10%. The level that I was looking at is this daily candle here, about 1968. So we'll see what it does. I don't know. Right now, like I said, I usually look at the tape. Glancing at the candle, you've got higher volume there, which is good, up to 1946. So again, you could have taken a trade on that. Is the volume light? Yes. Is it a great setup? I don't know. I'm wanting to see if it gives us a 1 minute pullback and then continues higher. That's, and does it happen? I don't know. I'm not sure. But right now, the level I'm watching is 1968. So we've got about a minute to the open. So I'll remind you guys, as always, that trading is in fact risky and my results are not typical. So manage your risk, practice in a simulator before you put real money on the line, and don't try to blindly follow me or anyone else. Take it slow, especially in this market. This isn't the market to do anything crazy. It's just, there's just not a lot happening. So, a little action on HKD, a little move on VFS, but, let's see if there's something that actually seriously proves itself today. All right, so I'll end the morning show here, and we'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. So those of you guys on YouTube, thanks for hitting the thumbs up, and I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. We've got 5 seconds to the opening bell.